Hello everyone and welcome to Civic Platform. This is your host Zuher Almusre. Today I'm covering an event organized by Manitoba Esports Association. Why they organize this event and how it's important for Winnipegger youth. All this question we will find for them and answers from this new episode from Civic Platform.
So Manitoba Esports was founded in 2019. It is a non-profit organization dedicated to supporting young people who have a passion for esports. Esports is competitive gaming, and it can be used for many tools in the classroom, also used for extracurricular activities, for sporting events, and to also support young people who may not be able to play traditional sports, people who are disabled, people who may not be able to afford to play traditional sports, or who just have a talent for esports and gaming, to give them a platform and an opportunity to shine. That's what we would like to do here with Manitoba Esports by putting on tournaments and running events for the community. We are very much a grassroots program that is dedicated to supporting young people who have that passion, and also to be putting them into a place where they could potentially have a career in esports or in audiovisual, for example, which is a huge part of our production side that we do with our tournaments. So we are at CECS Live, Canadian Esports Championship Series. That is Canada's largest online esports league. We run tournaments that are Canada-wide. We have players who play from across the country to play online, and then it leads into a live show, which is where we are right now. The top 4 teams get the chance to play on a stage in front of an audience to raise a trophy and to also win some prizing, along with just having that audience atmosphere, which is really exciting. CECS Live is a community grassroots program and event that we run. We have an internship program and a lot of volunteers that come from schools that are interested in audiovisual. Those schools provide students for us to help run cameras and audiovisual equipment on stage to get some great work experience, along with us also having that element of bringing in our own shoutcaster talent, a talent team of professionals that come in and talk about the games, along with some really great vendors and small businesses, some artists that are in a different room where you can support small business, because those artists specifically usually come to smaller events or conventions, and this is another way that we can help support them by having them also included. And one other thing that's also included with us is also a gaming lounge where we have some console tournaments and we have a VR area. Yeah, so we have players from across Canada that do compete. Currently, the top 2 teams that are playing today are all from Winnipeg, but we do have players that have traveled in before and that have competed on our stage. And so there is a huge diversity of players that are not just within the province, but are in other places across the country. And we are hoping to take this show on the road to different cities to kind of have more representation from different smaller groups, or from people who may not have been able to travel, to take this show and to give them that opportunity, say, in another city that's near them. So one of the things that I really love about this type of event is it is grassroots. We are all volunteers, people who've dedicated their time and effort into running esports tournaments and events, and we do see a lot of young people that just have not been given a platform or a stage to kind of play on and perform and display their talents. So one of the things that we really love doing about this show specifically is giving those students and young people an opportunity to play on a stage that they normally wouldn't be able to play on. If you look at the professional scene, most of those professionals are at the top 1% of the players in the world. They're just really, really good. And we'd like to have kind of more of a diversity. We want to be able to have some of those players that may not be at the top level still have a chance to feel like a professional and be able to play on a stage with an audience, cheering their name, just like how you would see at like a varsity basketball game or something like that within your school, your middle school, to kind of give that same kind of element and that same ambiance and vibe to just bring it into esports with young people being included in that. And I think we've done a really good job of that because we do have a lot of people that are very supportive of the players on stage, and we do see that diversity of ages as well. We also have a diversity of gender. We have a lot, we've seen more women now come on and play in these tournaments. We had some young folks. We had a 14-year-old playing yesterday, which was really great. We're seeing a lot of younger kids come and play, and we're seeing a lot of minority groups that are also really talented at gaming, and we're able to give them a platform that they may or may not have been able to have in another setting. So this is very much community driven. It's very much focused on young people, and it's also just giving them an opportunity to feel like they are special, to feel like that they are professional, that they, that people are cheering them on, that gives them more excitement, that is super uplifting for them. Especially because school and work and life and stuff can be really hard, and we want to be able to give them an opportunity to feel like that they matter. And I feel like these type of events really help them do that and can maybe overcome some things that they may be struggling with. Yeah, so some of our sponsors have been so great. They really understand that this is a grassroots initiative. We have Shaw TV Spotlight that is here, that is helping with providing cameras and allowing some of our young students from some high schools come and do some audiovisual training, running different cameras and such, and I think that's really great because that's a potential career opportunity for them. We also have Encore Canada, that is also one of our partners. They have provided a lot of the audiovisual equipment that you see here today, and they have been really supportive in trying to get themselves involved within esports and trying to understand that grassroots element. They've been super supportive in making sure that our show can look as great as it is. And if you can see behind me, we also have a Red Bull banner here. Red Bull has been one of our biggest sponsors for the longest time. They have been really supportive of grassroots initiatives for esports and gaming across the country, and they have provided a lot of support, not only just financially, but also providing activations on site, which is super essential. And it's super great because we're able to see a lot of young people interacting with their activations that they've set up. We've seen a lot of players obviously embracing some of the Red Bull fridges on stage, and they've just provided a really great atmosphere that's really fun for a lot of the young people. Yeah, so there are a lot of challenges. One of them is just that esports is not federally recognized in Canada. Once it becomes federally recognized, we would be able to apply for more grants and more grant opportunities to, provide better equipment, to potentially provide, better services for the players and provide options for them to, help them start up a platform, offering, classes for them as well, having more tournaments, more events, and of course trying to find ways where we can implement the programs and events that we do here and implementing them within the classroom so they can actually learn and use this potentially down the road if they choose to want to go into a career either with audiovisual, with content creation, with management, being a player, a streamer, a content creator. So I feel like a lot of it comes down to having government support, having support for just the types of events that we're doing, and just recognizing esports as a legitimate industry. It's been a long road. We've been here, I myself have been working in this industry for about 10 years, and it's still not at the point where we are federally recognized, and it'd be really great to have some kind of support from anyone in government to just recognize it as legitimate, and so we're able to provide funding for these young people that really share that passion of esports. Yeah, so esports, what we've seen, especially throughout the pandemic, is we saw a lot of demand for esports. There wasn't really a lot of person-to-person contact during that time, and we did see the rise in support of esports, especially within schools. A lot of teachers have started implementing different elements of gaming and technology into their classroom for education-based learning, which has been really great. It's allowed for a lot of community building, a lot of networking, a lot of communication. Also they've been using a lot of strategy games and such to really help stimulate the brain, which has been really great for the young people who are interested in just those type of world building type games and strategy games, which can really help them and their education. And they were also able to do that privately within their home during the pandemic when they weren't able to go to school. We also have seen just in general how many benefits there are to having players play games. Of course, there is obviously going to be that, maybe a percentage of players that may take it too far, where they choose to have it be kind of like a negative impact because they just that's all that they do. But if you look at the professional scene, you do see all these players are also eating healthy. They also have great trainers. They also have they're also going to the gym. They're getting out. They're making content. They're doing a lot of other things that don't require them to sit at 12 hours at a computer. The same thing can be said for when you're looking at collegiate esports, things that are done within schools or within universities. A lot of those students have to maintain a certain GPA average. A lot of those students have strict regimens when it comes to their coaching or their management, where they require them to, eat healthy, go to the gym, do the same things like an athlete on a basketball team would have to do. Of course, it's obviously not all like fun and games where you're playing games. You're also having to review videos. You're having to do a lot more communication building, networking. There's so many elements to it that's not just, you just set up a game and you play. There's a lot of elements in there that are also really important, especially in terms of the educational side of things. So I think it's not really a fair argument to say that that's all that they're doing just because maybe a small percentage of players can do that or people have seen that be the case. But I think there's also a lot of benefits to it as well, of just kind of in general raising awareness. You can't really not tell you can tell your kids not to do those things, but their majority of them would probably find another way to, go to their friend's place and play games, and that's a way that you're able to connect with players. I will say that there are a lot of elements to it as well that don't necessarily include that side of things. You can make a career out of it, which is super cool. There's a lot of scholarship opportunities for students, so you're able to potentially even make a living off of it if you choose to want to go down the professional career. There's just a lot of elements to that, and also if you have a disability, for example, or if you're not able to pay for or have your parents pay to play like a sport that can be really expensive, like hockey, for example, but your kid is very talented in playing games, you can channel that into setting up a schedule for your child and understanding their limitations, but also supporting that, supporting how they are going to take that time that they're playing those games and implementing it into an educational thing, implementing it into a potential career of like making content and monitoring them making that content. Trying to start up a professional career and making sure that they're going down the right alleys, making sure that they are able to stand out and also getting scholarship opportunities. Like there's so many layers and levels to it that I just don't think are maybe well promoted or maybe like not talked about enough within schools and within people's own homes. And I feel like we just need to continue to educate parents and young people about the opportunities that there are for their kids, that is not just traditional sports, because there's other opportunities for them, especially if they are one of those people that may not be able to afford playing traditional stuff, traditional sports, or potentially if they have a disability or they're not able to do something, or they were cut from the team and they're really sad about it. This is a way that they wouldn't necessarily feel excluded, and that's one thing that I would love to see more of just having more inclusivity, and this is a way that we can do that through esports.
When it comes to esports, there can be a lot of criticism about the physical aspect. For example, a young child sitting at a computer or on the couch for multiple hours a day, and that isn't good. However, we do encourage proper physical focus and we do our best to ensure that the players in our organization are mindful of taking breaks. Just because you can play sports for a long time doesn't mean you are on the field the entire time or on the court the entire time. In the same way as esports, Just because you can play for a long time doesn't mean you have to be sitting at a chair for hours on end. You can play a game for an hour and get up for 15 minutes, stretch your legs, grab some water, and that's encouraged because it's important, and that leads directly into mental health. So with the way that the world changed digitally, esports and gaming in general opens an avenue for players who may not have ever been exposed to a community of like-minded individuals ever in their life. So as opposed to a traditional club or sport where you might see people every day, players are able to log on to the internet and connect with their friends and people who they share common interests with. And that's more important, in my opinion, to promote, as opposed to looking at it as somebody playing by themselves. It's, especially when it comes to esports and the competitive scene, very seldom is it a solo sport. It's always generally with a team, whether it be 1, 2, or 4 other players on the team. You're working with other people who are trying to achieve the same goal. So I think the criticism behind it is an old criticism that maybe people who didn't grow up or understand understand how esports can be utilized in a modern era. Maybe it's a little misguided, I would say, and I think it's our job to educate them on the benefits of why gaming and esports is important, especially with our youth, to provide a safe, inclusive environment for people who may not have that otherwise. We follow a very strict set of rules and guidelines when it comes to community engagement and the way that our players are expected to act when they're involved in our tournaments and our events. And we don't tolerate any sort of racism, bigotry, sexism, any sort of hateful messaging, nothing like that. So that is on us to ensure that the people involved in our community are following and abiding by those rules and guidelines. But in a general sense, it's difficult to control who children can be speaking with online. Now, there's 2 ways to go about it. First is educating your child on who and why they could be speaking with online and what information to not give out. And I think education starts at the point of, a parent to their child and really making them understand that it's okay to play online with strangers and to meet new people, but you need to be aware that you can't be giving out personal information, and anybody requesting that information, you should be wary of that. The second off comes to the actual game developers. So in some of the games that we play, there's options where you can actually stop all communication from anybody else in the game you're playing. So if you're facing harassment, or even if you just don't want to hear other people talk, you can disable that. You can't see or hear anything that they do, and features like that are really important as well to preserve this safe environment where, okay, you might not be able to get them to stop, but you can stop all communication to you. They don't know your real information, they don't know your name or anything like that. And I think with a couple of methods and good education for the youth, I think it can be mitigated, and it's not a concern, especially because everything is tracked online nowadays. So there are a lot of safeguards in place to really mitigate the risk.
Yeah, so actually majority of the players that we have, especially the ones that are playing on stage today, are minorities. They're young people, they're minorities, which is really fantastic. We've seen a lot of more diverse players because you don't really know who's playing behind that keyboard, behind that screen. And that's kind of like, in a sense, it's almost like it's kind of like a luxury because you don't really know who's there and how good they are and how good maybe their English is, but you're able to connect with so many different people online by playing these games. You don't really see who they really are. Once you're able to get to a live stage like where we are today, you can see the diversity of age, of ethnicity, and even the diversity of our team as well, of just not, and not just being from one particular group. And I think that's really great that we're seeing so many young people that are just as passionate, but they come from all different backgrounds, and I really love that. Even if your English is not that good, you're still able to play games just as you want. There's obviously lots of options in the game where you're able to change the language that fits best for you. But there's also just a lot of players you don't really, like I said, you don't really know who you're playing against, you don't really know who your teammates are, but you're able to get to know people over time, and then of course meet when it comes to these types of events. We've always been super inclusive of everyone that we've ever wanted to have at our event. We have a lot of young people. We've even had some people, some young children, like even under the age of 12, that have come with their parents, and we've had grandparents come with their kids to come to our events. I just think that Winnipeg is such a diverse city, and like culturally as well, and we do see that also taking place here, where we do see so many people from different backgrounds coming together for their love and passion of esports. And I think that's really great. It's not just a one-size-fits-all approach. It's not just you have to be this good of a player to play, or you have to only be of this gender to play. It's everybody. It's everyone, and it's super diverse. And we really love that. We really want to see more of that, and especially also including like other people that may or may not feel that comfortable coming, especially when we're looking at the kind of like the barriers that people in the LGBTQ community face, people who, other minorities maybe who may not be as represented in the industry, and of course women who do face a lot of barriers in esports as well. Yeah, so if you'd like to learn more about our organization, the website that we have is www.manitobaesports.com. You're welcome to connect with us in terms of if you want us to set up any type of events. We do set up other events. The CECS Live is going to be coming back. We have other events that are going to be taking place throughout the 2023 season, and we're already planning for 2024. I'm hoping that we'll be able to also go to other like larger venues and do larger events, and also to be able to travel with this show to bring it to other cities that 100% would be excited for an event like this to take place there, and to also just bring more people together who have that and share that same passion as we do, just like how the people here at CECS Live feel as well.
We reached the end of our episode. Thank you for watching. If you like this episode, please like, share, and subscribe, and wait for a new episode from Civic Platform.